All right. KitaCast is back with episode 24.
You sure?
Yes, actually. You know how I know? Because Kiefer Sutherland was in here a while ago and he kicked our asses. He said, nobody could replace me ever. And he ran out here. And I was like, I don't understand.
Man, he really needs to find more work.
He's like, Konami didn't give me enough money. Okay, Kiefer. The person that's losing his mind right here is Nedu. To my right, we got...
I'm also losing my mind, but because of this guy. I'm Gary.
It's true. And to my left...
Oh, my mind's been gone for a long time. It's Dan.
We have all lost it. But we haven't lost our passion for video games and podcasting.
I hope not, because that's basically what this whole thing kind of hinges on.
That would be pretty bad.
Was I passionate about podcasting?
I'm super passionate about...
You better be!
Damn you,
I'll
Gary.
fucking punch you so hard.
I will punch you.
I will punch you.
No, it's fun.
I'll put your face through the microphone.
Oh, God, please don't.
Go ahead.
In this episode, we are actually... we kind of give you guys a bit of teaser. I bet the anticipation was killing you.
Oh!
He waited a whole week for that.
I did!
That joke just fucking killed me.
Oh, you see, the reason it's hilarious is because we're talking
It's not about ads at all.
Damn you, Gary! I'm going to punch you. No, we're talking about, we're actually going to talk about crowdfunding in this episode. But to kick things off, we're actually going to talk about a game that I literally did not know was in any form of existence until about last week. Ant Simulator, and the interesting controversy, that kind of surrounded it. So, which one do you guys want to start on this one?
Okay, well, you have your notes and stuff,
Okay.
so bring people up to speed, because even though this is kind of like world news as far as gamers go, some people may not have read into it, or they may have seen the title Ant Simulator and just glazed over it because they were like, I'm not interested in that.
Yeah.
The problem here is that even though that's kind of the title of a lot of it, is that you have to read into it to really see what the controversy is. So bring people up to speed on what exactly is going on.
Okay, yeah, so it's a little confusing, but essentially from what I can gather, there was this game that was made at a 48-hour game jam between a group of guys and they called it Ant Simulator, and they kind of wanted to make it an actual game. So essentially, they released a Kickstarter for it, raised some funds, blah, 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 we're making this game, it's all happening. But essentially, it's now, the project has been canceled. The main guy behind it, Eric I'm going to butcher this, I apologize, Terashinsky, he published a video on January 30th, 2016, basically saying that apologizing to the public, saying that I'm so sorry, but Ant Simulator's been canceled. Without getting into too many details, essentially he is accusing his two business partners, friends of his that he's known for years, of spending the funds that they raised improperly on booze, on like
hookers
dinners
and blow.
not
blow, just
not blow. Well, they weren't hookers; they were strippers.
Okay,
Yeah,
there's a difference.
He goes to say that they spend it on
Yeah.
food and snacks and strippers and booze, basically.
So he's essentially accusing them of mismanaging the funds and saying that he didn't even know about a lot of this stuff, and he can't even access certain aspects of his project because there's a lot invested in both financially and just like IP wise and legally and stuff like that. So it's becoming a bit of an issue. So yeah, he kind of released this video like pretty much essentially accusing them out in the open. But of course, because it's the internet, and honestly, I mean, if you were accused of something and you wanted a platform, obviously you would probably retort in some way. So it seems that his friends, former friends, I'm assuming now, had an interview with Game Informer where they essentially, and I'll just read the headline here, is essentially Ant Simulator business partners respond to devs' claims saying, and 100% bullshit is what they're saying. So they're saying that the accusations are not accurate at all, that Terashinsky became somewhat power hungry and tried to control everything and block them out of stuff. They did, I guess, mention that they were doing certain dinners as actual business expenses or something. But yeah, so it seems like it's a he said kind of thing going. So yeah, it's a little unclear what exactly happened, but it seems like accusations are flying left and right and nobody's happy. It seems everybody loses in this situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, ultimately, when the first video came out, I mean, a lot of people like to think that they're good judges of character and everything like that, but this is just an audio-only video.
Yeah.
But when I listened to it, I would like to think that this guy was mostly heartfelt. Like it sounded like his world had basically come to an end. He sounded crushed by the whole ordeal. And then at the end, he said he was going to carry on and continue making games and everything like that. Now, with that being said, I don't think there's 100%, blame on one side of the party or the other. This guy may have had that kind of situation where maybe he did try to kind of take over control of some of the stuff because he saw that it was going to be something bigger. And that's kind of normal. You want to protect something that is really close to you, so he may have tried to get more of that control and everything like that. Whereas his business partners were saying, oh, he was trying to take control of everything and go crazy, basically. But that, again, it's all hearsay for the most part on both sides, because they haven't really shown, like, who tried to take control of what, or what actually happened on what dates or anything like that. So then we read this other thing with Game Informer, where his other two associates are, and again, maybe they should have done an audio interview so we could at least hear what they sounded like, because when you're reading it, it seems very scripted almost.
Yeah.
They were trying to blame 100% on him, saying that, he was trying to take control of everything and that they were just doing what they were supposed to. Their books were apparently open so that anyone could see them. So he should have known if they were spending all this money on, like, strippers and booze and everything like that. But, I mean, when it comes down to it, if this guy's not the financials guy, he really shouldn't need to look through the financials to see if other people are stealing money for this thing or whatever, embezzling or whatever you want to call it. The other part that kind of got me too was that they said, oh, well, it was open. It was clear what we were spending the money on. We were spending it on contractors and we were spending on these, like, business meals and everything like that. It's like, you are an indie developer of 3 guys hiring some contractors. What the fuck are you doing eating business meals, talking about, like, having these discussions and stuff over dinners and lunches and probably drinks at that point too and everything like that? The 3 of the guys invested, what was it, $5,000 total, I think, of their own money.
What ended up happening, if you read the article from Game Informer, it's pretty, what I assume happened was these 2 were not developers. They were more like investors. They had money.
Oh, okay.
So they were the major investors.
Oh, okay.
And then because, like, your developers has full control, but you're, like, the major investor, you want, like...
You want your interests to
Yeah,
be
so
represented.
what ends up happening is who owns more of it, whoever put more money in or who put more work in.
Yeah, exactly. So either way, so this money was put in. There's crowdfunding, like tons of crowdfunding for this thing too, put in. And that's the thing, is it was clearly mishandled. They've come out and said, basically, they weren't lying about it. They said they spent money on meals and drinks and stuff like that. And that's just something you don't fucking do, especially if you're not, like, if that's what you say it is, like, they're developers, they basically just gave them money to make this game. Then what are they doing? Like, what are they discussing over these meals and stuff like that? Why are they blowing all this money that should be put into this game? Because we all know that indie games, no matter how big or small, they cost a lot of money to make.
I think, and God knows I don't know because I don't know these guys, right? But it's one of those things where you hear about AAA companies or even companies that have some form of money will do business meetings over dinner and stuff like that, right? Maybe they thought that's, we're in this role now. This is what we do. I'm not saying that's a good excuse, because it's not. Maybe
No,
that
that's
was
a
the
shitty
mindset.
excuse.
No, I mean, I think the biggest enemy when it comes, and God knows there's a lot of stories like this, and when it comes to not even just indie games, but game development anywhere. But one of the biggest enemies of that is, of course, mismanagement of money and not knowing how you need to allocate that money. So they're like, oh, business expense here, dinner there, it's not a big deal. And all of a sudden they're like, oh shit, we actually don't have very much money left.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the problem, is that basically they... Like, these guys, they went on Kickstarter, they got their money and everything, they had their initial investment. I mean, they got a good amount of money. It wasn't crazy. It's not like Double Fine territory or anything like that, but it was still, should have been enough for them to make their game, or at least a fully kind of playable demo version to show that this is a viable game and everything like that. And basically the point they got to when they more or less ran out of money was that this thing was barely an alpha at that point. Like, they've been quoted to say that the game was far from being done. It was in alpha. It basically had a couple minutes of actual gameplay to it.
Yeah.
The rest of it was just kind of assets of like the models and the levels and the ideas that were still kind of floating around in the air of like what the game would actually do when it was made. So I don't know. It's really sad to see this, and I mean, it's kind of just the human aspect of it is that these guys are going to fight, and it's only going to get dirtier from here, I think, until we really find out like what exactly happened with those after there's like investigations done and stuff like that, or if any of that stuff takes place.
Yeah, I wouldn't even be sure if any investigations would happen, like unless they were trying, like the developer is trying to find a way to get them to pay back the money that they owe. Other than that, it's like you can't really do much about it. It's just a falling out of the company, essentially.
Yeah, exactly, and that's kind of one of the things with Kickstarter too, is that they can't really legally go after them for a lot of aspects like that.
The only thing they could fight for or against is if those assets were still being used, but Eric Tarashinsky already said he's not going to use those assets anymore, and he's going to work on something different.
Yeah, exactly.
So unless like these two guys decided to keep going, then you have an issue. But like
one of the other things that
they're all giving it up,
that kind of made Tarashinsky stand apart from his other two business partners is these guys basically just went out and said, "Oh, well, he's lying, 100% bullshit and everything like that." Whereas the other guy came out on his own saying, "I'm sorry that this happened.
Yeah.
This is my side of the story. This is what happened. I wanted to get it out there before someone else tries to wreck me, because one person against the internet is going to get destroyed." And then the fact that the entire time during the video, and I hope he follows through on this, is that he's going to try his darndest to get people refunds on the whole Kickstarter thing, which is amazing, because there's a lot of companies that say, "Oh, we fucked up," and then they just disappear into the ether and don't do anything with it. So if he follows through on the refund, I'm going to stand on his side a lot more than the other two guys that are just being like, "We want our fucking money back," and then they're not going to do anything else.
Yeah, the refund's tricky though, because it depends how much was used. I don't know how much the Kickstarter actually made.
That's the thing, is it's, again, if it follows through, or if they get partial refund, or if he tries to do something, because there's been a lot of people too, like I said, that's why I'm kind of reserving a little bit of judgment here, is that there are people who said, "Oh, don't worry, if this doesn't go through, you'll get a full refund." Yeah, and they're the guys that just disappear, and then no one ever hears from them.
Well, how would you get that full refund? It's like, money goes places. You need to use it. So,
yeah, exactly.
Unless you were to go to a bank and be like, I need a loan to pay off some shit.
Like, some shit
they're
that
not
happened
gonna do that.
that I don't want to talk about.
I need a loan to pay some stuff on. Don't worry about it. Don't mind your business.
Then Mr. Three-Piece Suit stands up and throws a briefcase of money. I was like, "Here you go."
The thing is, if you could take that loan in the first place, why the fuck would you need Kickstarter?
That's kind of it. But that's why I'm kind of
take a loan.
So I'm kind of interested to see what he does with it. See if he is true on it, or if he tries, one way or another to get it to them.
I just hope he tries to get them some like content or something, like like maybe a fun little game or something.
Yeah, like
that he designs.
Maybe a discount on the next game he's making or something like that. It'll be Lizard Simulator or something.
Lizard Man Simulator. It also, the guys, apparently his former partners. Oh, I should actually get their names. So I'm saying like that's their last names are Mons and Staley.
Okay.
So apparently in the Game Informer thing, it is saying that they are planning on pursuing legal action of some form, but again, I'm not really sure exactly what that could look like.
The only one they could use is defamation.
Well, exactly.
At this point,
like
I feel like,
and even at that, that's pretty minor.
Yeah. Like I'm not really sure exactly. That's exactly like I don't know sure what else they can do, and again, that's going to be a huge pain in the ass for them. Like it'd probably be better if they just settled outside.
Yeah. They should just take their money and walk. That's
exactly. Legal fees are going to be way more of an issue.
Yeah, like just don't even what's the point of dragging it out and making everybody look worse in this? Like it's just going to be a pain in the ass for all three of them if they end up deciding to pursue legal action, especially if Eric Tarashinsky's planning on not using the assets or using Ad Simulator anymore, right? Like at what point? What else you're trying to do? Like I guess also the company name is named after him, but it's still like owned by all three of them. So maybe there's part of that.
Well, whatever. He already stated in his video that he was basically going to drop that. He was going to drop all the video content that was made during his time working on it. Like he knows what he has to do. He knows what was in that contract.
Yeah.
He knows what he does to cover his ass and everything. So I think that's why he is going to come out of the other end of this obviously shaken, but he's going to continue on, or at least I hope he does, because something like this can really sink your love for making games and stuff like that, and it's really unfortunate that this had to happen, especially this is his first big make and everything like that, and got shit on like this, so it's really unfortunate.
It's just because it's so unfortunate that you can't just do it with only knowledge of making games. Like you have to have like knowledge in your economy and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
Like basic economics and like how you're gonna spend your money and stuff. Like, and that's like the hardest thing with crowdfunding is because you're funding someone who essentially only knows how to make the game usually, instead of someone who knows how to like allocate those things or do those things properly.
Yeah,
and that's the hard part with that.
Yeah.
That is really hard.
And that's kind of one of the, I guess, the cruxes of Kickstarter is that a lot of people see it as a marketplace.
Yeah.
And it is not that.
Yeah.
It is it's a thought bubble.
Exactly. And people need to know that there's risk in putting money into things.
Now, there is, of course, less risk in putting your money into certain things because there are companies that go to Kickstarter that are not AAA. I mean, there are some AAA that do it, but for the most part, they're more indie. But you take something like Harebrained Schemes. These guys have been making games for like almost 30 years or something like that. They've had successful launches.
Or even Double Fine, right?
They've had, Double Fine. But they're even bigger. Yeah. I mean, Harebrained Schemes, they kind of, they were a team of people who used to make all these games and then they reformed as Harebrained Schemes. Because I don't think that existed before that. But they had the license for Shadowrun.
Shadowrun
which is
returns
one of the biggest like hits on Kickstarter. Because it got all this crazy money, all this traction and everything like that. And they made a stellar fucking game out of it. But that's because they had the backers, they had the licensing. They clearly showed in their video that they already had beyond a working model. They had like half a game done by that point. And they said, hey, we just need you guys to help finish this thing, basically. Whereas you take something like Ant Simulator, that was like a 2 to 3 minute alpha, barely a demo of this game and that, and then people are throwing money at their screens. Not really the same situation there. So you really have to... Like, when you go to Kickstarter, figure out what the people are actually showing you that they have, not what they want to make. What they actually have at the point that you're giving them money. Because that can really change it, like, between what happens, whether you get a product or you don't. Or the quality of the product you're going to get.
Absolutely. Well, next thing, speaking of, like, larger, more well-known indie stuff, a recent... the ongoing story of Mighty Number 9 and the delays. There was another one more recently. This podcast may include a lot of reading because there was a letter actually by Inafune himself regarding this one. It's kind of long. I'm not going to read the whole thing.
You have like snippets for it or summarize it or?
Yeah, well, essentially what they're saying in this letter is that they know that fans are eager to play that Mighty Number 9, but they had to delay the game yet again. Basically what the part of the reason of the delay is because some of the online and multiplayer features were causing some bugs and some issues with the actual game. And they wanted to release a product that was good and that was playable, and they didn't feel like it would be ready in time. Let's see. Although we are far past our initial release date of Mighty Number 9, it is still around the corner. We are all working hard to make sure that we can finish and release the game to all our fans as quickly as possible, and ask once more for your support on this project that we have created together over these last few years. So that was the last sentence of it.
Yeah, so basically what that comes down to is that that's why I like this. They're staying tenacious in what they're doing. Like, they're trying to stick with it. They're trying to stay positive about it and everything because they have a good product and they're waiting for it to be like the best they can make it, basically. And there's so many people out there that just blindly are yelling at them now because they're like, oh, you promised this date and you promised this date and everything. It's like, games make time or games take time to make. Like, you have to give them that time because here's the thing. A bad game is a bad game forever. But a good game, when it comes out, it's like it's worth the extra time. Because that's the thing, is like once it launches, that's it. You can patch it all you want after that and everything, but if there's a bunch of broken shit in it, you can only do so much once the game has launched.
I think the big issue with this, though, was that the single player is done. Like,
oh, I know, yeah.
It works.
It's the online.
And they had a working game, and they questioned whether they wanted to give people a single player for now or hold it back until the multiplayer is done.
Yeah. I would prefer to have the whole product all at once, even if it does mean that you have to take this bit extra time, because again, I want a good product. I don't want a product that's shoved out the door. The other factor of this too is that people don't seem to understand is that this is a multi-platform game. You are not just dealing with like, oh, this is just on the PS4.
That was a big issue, actually.
The huge issue is that this is on basically all the consoles. This is on.
Oh, it's on the past ones.
This is on 3DS, Wii, Wii U, PS3, PS4, Xbox 360, Xbox One, and PC.
Yeah.
Like, that is every fucking thing that you could put this game on. And you have to understand that all that networking and all that online code and everything like that, yeah, it's not the same for all of those.
Yeah.
So
and
that's
what they mentioned specifically.
Oh,
in
for
that,
sure.
in
Yeah,
that
exactly.
Apology letter.
Yeah. So you're saying that you don't just put Mega Man EXE / PS3.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Oh, it's not Mega Man. I meant my number 9.
You don't just change a name and then it fixes it all for the online code and shit like that. So it's like, people, calm the fuck down and let them finish the game properly, because you release a broken game, people aren't going to say, "Oh, I understand that you were going to give us this thing later" and stuff like that. No, they're going to tear it a new one. They're going to be like, "It was broken. It was, it was all shoddy. It didn't have all the options when it came out." It's like, well,
Metal Gear is a pretty good example of that.
Did you want it when we said, or did you want it later and then you got mad at us for telling you that? Like, it's people are just so fickle with that shit.
The thing is, it's because you do tell them that. Like, in other game development, you would not specifically have to, because you wouldn't have a concrete release date unless you were sure of it. And
people do it all the time, though.
I know.
Look at Hitman. They had pre-orders for that fucking game.
I guess so. But like, usually you get to a certain point and then you make your release date. Whereas they were like, they had a release date pretty early on, and then they ran into a lot of unforeseen circumstances. So, like, in other game development, you just sort of don't show people that and show people that you're having trouble, because when people see you're having trouble, they're like, "Oh my god, there must be something wrong with this." And it's just how people are. Like, it's just psychology right there.
I mean, I personally don't mind that it's delayed, and also, I mean, I'm gonna play the game when it comes out. I'm not as stoked for it as like you are, but it's one of those things when it comes out, like, oh, this looks fun, and I'll play it, and I'll probably like it. I think one thing that some people are angry about, again, I'm not super angry about this. I'm not even angry about this. I think it's more just the case that maybe, like, it just seems a little curious that, when they're releasing Kickstarters for, like, Red Ash, and they're mentioning other games and stuff like that, but this game still isn't out the door. I think that was maybe a poor choice to talk about those other projects so candidly, or because then it's just like, well, what's happening with those other projects? Is that because it's delayed? Even if they're saying this, there's still the mind share that people are thinking, oh, what about those other games and that other company that you were that started funding that game?
I do have to knock them for that, because it's like, have your other game out before you start announcing other projects. Because that was that hurt them definitely, because there's a lot of people saying, oh, well, they want this anime and this other game based on this other game that isn't even fucking out yet, and then got pushed back. That was a really bad slip on their part. I mean, granted, good on them that they got a dev to help them out, and that it's still going to happen. It's just, make your initial game happen. Make people happy with that, and then continue on from there.
I think it was because they were treating it like a corporation. Because, like, essentially, if you have a team of 100 people, and half of them are doing, like, your graphics arts and stuff like that, they've run out of things to do. You're paying them for nothing halfway through. So at that point, you want them to get work on something else. So then they started announcing another Kickstarter, and that would work in a company because you need to get them working.
Well, that's exactly why it would work in a major company, but in a smaller company, unfortunately, it doesn't look super good. And because what you're saying makes perfect sense.
But they still have people they're paying to do nothing.
No, they should. Like, I'm not saying that they shouldn't have started working on those projects. It's more they probably shouldn't have talked so candidly about them. But again, God knows I'm not a businessman, so I probably have no idea. They probably thought long and hard about what they were going to do before they even said it, right? So I do respect that. I just think, unfortunately, because of this situation, it makes other people going like, well, you were talking about these other projects now, so what's going on?
I think it's the same boat that kind of like Kojima is in, and I would worry about the same kind of pitfalls of him kind of doing his own thing with Kojima Productions and stuff like that. Is that I think, just like Inafune, he's made this giant, amazing license that's loved, the world over. And he's used to having this big budget and people saying yes to him a lot, even though Konami started saying no to him later on in his life. Because, he'd go past, release dates and finish by dates and budgets and stuff like that. And I think Inafune making Mega Man and having Capcom backing him all those years and stuff like that, he might be in the same mindset where he's just like, I'm kind of invincible. I'll just make this happen or make this happen. And he just kind of expects that it's going to happen, but it's not. You can't be that big corporation like Capcom because you have, the couple hundred people working on it under you, but it's all through crowdfunding. So
I don't think he has that mentality of invincibility at all or anything like that. It's just like the reason he talked about it is because it's like a business pitch. Like, he's not going to make Red Ash unless people are interested. Mm-hmm. So he was gauging interest at the same time, but because people only see that, it's one person, they only see this is the work of one person instead of this is the work of like a whole group of people, then why is this first game not done before he's working on some other
shit? Like I said, it was just bad timing because the first game should have come out so people recognized what it was, what the product was that he made, and then they could kind of judge a little more on that rather than saying, hey, this game that's still coming out that you don't even know if it's good or not, fund our other project now. It's like, I don't know.
But at the same time, you're wasting like 4 months of money. Like, you can't.
Well,
if you're 2 people working on a game, that's fine. If you're like 100 people working on a game, that's a lot of money you're wasting.
Yeah, but I mean, it's one thing to say, hey, our game comes out next week for sure. And it's another thing to be like, hey, our game just got pushed back. Now support our other game that is just in its infancy.
Yeah.
It was.
Red Ash was right before they delayed that, though.
Oh, okay.
Like, it was before delaying.
When people got mad about Red Ash was when the delay kind of cropped up, because when people initially.
So what they should have done then is they should have had that release date on lockdown. They knew it was going to happen and then released it, because a week later or 2 weeks later, that's when the rage came in because they had to push it back.
Yeah, it's because people associated that delay with, they're probably wasting their time with Red Ash.
Exactly.
Instead of network issues.
Right, and exactly. That's the tough thing, too, because, again, a lot of people, myself included, right, don't exactly understand how game development works. I mean, I know so much more now than I did like 5 years ago, but even then my knowledge is very, very little. And the general consumer of such things would just be like, well, why don't I have my game? You're doing this other game. Why are you guys wasting your time?
Yeah.
Why are you doing this Inafune? And again, they focus it all on one person. Even if they know that there's multiple people, it's still, again, Inafune is the face of the company, so they're all just focusing on that one man. It's the same things with like, BioShock, or with Kevin Levine, or of course Hideo Kojima with Metal Gear Solid. We always talk about this one person. Meanwhile, there's a bunch of people that are working on it. Who knows what kind of issues? Like, when the bigger team you have, sure, it's great to have all kinds of resources, but more issues can also easily prop up too.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's there's a huge question mark on this. Like, I mean, I do appreciate the comment, at least. Like, I do appreciate the message that he's sending out there, because I mean, he could have just as easily said nothing. He doesn't have to.
Yeah, he doesn't. He doesn't have to deliver any of that. And I have seen failed Kickstarters where it's basically they'll say, "Oh, thanks. Our Kickstarter was successful. We're working on the game. Here's where all your money's going." Stuff
disappear forever.
And then like. Basically, we're gonna have weekly updates to show you guys what we're working on. Like, the first couple weeks, they have their updates, and they seem kind of shoddy. And then they start kind of separating more and more, and then it's just like once a month they say, "Oh, don't worry, we're still working on it," but then they don't show you anything, and then they just kind of disappear after that. And it's like, well, I guess my money's gone. So at least with this, they not only have like a release date that gets pushed back, but it's not like, oh, it'll be next year sometime. Like, they have another more or less set date. It's, within a good, like, short range, and they have exact reasons as to why it did get pushed back.
This is kind of like the growing pains of transparency in companies. Because, like, for the most part, people like transparency nowadays.
Yeah.
But because they never were used to seeing what was happening behind the scenes, it's, like, foreign and weird to them, and then they're just like, this is wrong, you shouldn't be doing this. So
it's like, why are you having this problem? You didn't have this problem before. It's like, yeah, we did. You just didn't get to
You
read
just
about
never
it.
got to see it.
Also, the internet wasn't quite as much of a thing.
Well, I mean, and you just have to look at it this way, too. It's like, even in the past 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20, like, games have become so, like, involved in how they need their coding done, and how they need to be built, and how they have to work on different platforms, and troubleshooting, and all these, like, basically how they're built is just like 1 trillion times harder than they were back in like 1990. It's like, yeah, Nintendo could go and make all these fucking games for like Nintendo and Super Nintendo and stuff like that, because they could go and bang out a game in 6 months and get a couple guys to QA test it and be done, because it's front to back, 6 chapters, this story, extremely linear, nothing else happens in it. Like, now it's like, basically, with, Mighty Number 9, for example, like, you have multiple paths, you can take you can fight your bosses in different ways, you have all the different power-ups, you have all the online stuff, you have challenge maps, you have multiple characters to play, like, there's so much more packed into this game, and that's just with, like, a 2D side-scroller, like, that's not even, like, AAA style, like, first-person shooter open world, like, crazy vehicle driving and stuff. Like, there's so much more that goes into development now, and people just don't seem to be grasping that, even though with this type of transparency, they're still not getting the idea that it's extremely hard to make
it just takes time. It's going to take time before people are used to this transparency in companies, before they're like, okay, not everything's going to be what I expect right away. Especially with Kickstarter. Like, you saw it right at the beginning where everyone was like throwing money at everything and then being like, why am I not getting this? Instead of like thinking of it as an investment. Which in fact, that's what it is.
It's just an investment. Straight up, you are an investor. That is all. Yeah. And you know what? Fair enough. Investors get angry at companies all the time when they don't deliver. They either deliver a shoddy product or they just doesn't end up getting delivered. The only difference is
your rights as an investor.
Yeah, but the other part is that other larger investors that put millions in, they can pursue legal after that. Your average Kickstarter person can't, because you put in $10 here and $20 here.
I don't even know if I would say investor for that reason, because like you're not seeing. Yeah, well, I guess. I mean, it's just because you're not really seeing much of a return from your investment, right? Like and you don't have any actual like say in what this project is. Like I don't know. I mean, I just don't know. It
depends on how you interpret investment, because
fair enough.
You can be a small time investor. You can actually like go and buy one share in a company.
Well, yeah, you can.
You're an investor in that company.
No,
you
absolutely.
have no say in the company.
But
the other thing about Kickstarter, though, where you can technically be an investor, is the fact that depending on what level you buy in at, some of these people actually do have a say in what happens.
Oh, you know, actually, that's fair.
Look at what is it? Shadowrun.
No,
for example.
You're right.
The guys that bought in at like 1,000, 2,000.
Yeah.
They got to help out with some of the story. They got to name some of the characters. They got a character made after them. Some of the guys that paid in enough. Some of the guys got to like, what was it? They got to pick some aspects of like some of the levels and stuff like that. They really got to kind of like shape parts of the game and everything. So I would say, if anything, that's. Maybe even at a certain level, you are investing in this thing.
Well, I will concede that I'm wrong on that point.
I think I just wanted to bring up the point that because it's an investment, you have to know that you're taking a risk and your money is not coming back if you lose.
Like, there's actually a prime example that I can talk about. I backed a Kickstarter for a game called Pro Wrestling X. Basically, it's this team out of, I believe they're in Edmonton. And they want to bring back the classic N64 wrestler, because we all know and love those wrestling games, because they were bar none like the best wrestling games that ever existed. So they want to go in and they want to recreate that wrestling style, that kind of feel to those old games and stuff, but just update the graphics so it just is modernized, but still have all like character creation, the ring creation, the kind of shitty storylines and everything. They want to have all that in there. So. That got me really excited, because we haven't seen a good wrestling game basically since the 64 ones. So I was like, fuck yeah, I'll throw down some money for this. I became an investor because not only did I give them money to make this game, but again, with the levels you were buying in, the level I bought into, I get to make some sign art that can be used in the game. And when they get to this point eventually, they want me to record chants and crowd cheers and clapping and stuff like that is actually going to be used in the game. Neat. And that was basically like a $50 buy-in on this game. Yeah. So I thought that was really cool. And, and they had their stretch goals for like weapons and extra ring stuff and extra characters and stuff like that. But it's an investment, because I'm part of that game now. And you have to be patient when you're using Kickstarter. And I knew that right from the start, because when I paid him, like, I'm not going to be doing this stuff tomorrow, and I'm going to get the game in 6 months. These guys have been working on this game. Like, they had worked on this game for, I think, a year and a half or 2 years prior to them launching their Kickstarter. And to this date, I think it's been another year and a half or 2 years after the fact, too. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's another 3 years before the game's done. But it is going to be fucking awesome when it's done. And I'll be part of the game. And we'll be able to kick the shit out of each other in the game. So yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. But either way, so I mean, that's what it kind of goes down as, is that, I guess it depends. You can consider yourself an investor depending on what level you buy in.
No, that totally makes sense. Yeah. Like I said, I'll definitely concede I'm wrong at that point. Because That's very true.
Because there are the people that like, oh, it's like just throw us $1.
$5, and then they're screaming at the top of their lungs.
Yeah, it's like, well, what did you expect?
Well, they have put money in.
But I mean, it's
I always think it's just like maybe
they never put that thought forward. They think the thing's done on the other end. They're just going to get it in 6 months or something.
I just think a calmer approach to most of these things usually makes sense. Like I know there are definitely Kickstarters that have come up in where they have failed or they've done things weird, and you're just like, well, that's strange. But I think generally going on, like, because I mean, if you read the comments on their website, what are these guys called? Concept. Well, it's on Mighty Number 9 website. But if you read the comments underneath, like there are some short stories written. There's definitely a huge case of TLDR going on here.
The good part is that some of those TLDR ones are the guys that are saying like, hey, guys, calm the fuck down. This is the whole reason. Please understand that this is like way beyond your your concept of what it actually takes to make a game and everything, because you're being very short-sighted about it. So
it's just, some of the more angry ones are literally kind of some people like kind of telling their life stories as far as how involved they are with Mega Man, and then saying how pissed off they are. But then again, just like you say, there's others that are just like,
I remember reading one of the comments on there too, where the guy said, like, I've read some of these like long ass comments about people saying, "Oh, it's like, oh, this is horrible," and how it's like destroyed their life that they couldn't play this game on time and stuff like that. And it's just like, and at the end, he was just like, you know what? Good for you. Consider yourself very blessed if this is literally the worst thing that could happen in your life. That a game gets pushed back by like a month or two. Like honestly,
no kidding.
Get your shit together. Like if the pushing back of a game is your ultimate demise in your life, you need to reassess what the fuck you're doing then. Like, really.
Yeah.
I'm actually a bit worried about the concept company because of this.
Yeah.
Because as it's getting pushed back, people are just losing interest. And apart from Kickstarter money, they're expecting profits from this. So like, if only the investors are the ones interested.
I honestly wouldn't be surprised.
They might not make any money.
I honestly wouldn't be surprised if the devs above them that kind of bought into Red Ash and stuff like that are giving the money to do that. I wouldn't be surprised if they just get absolved. Like, Concept gets absolved into them, and then Infinity starts working for them and his team and everything like that. Like, that's probably what's going to happen unless there doesn't end up being a huge backlash about Concept. But
because I don't know, I feel like Mighty Number 9 is not going to be profitable anymore. It's too far gone at this point.
It's going to be an uphill battle at this point because, there's a lot of people who are just saying fuck it. And they're carrying on.
Really,
the investors are the ones who cared about it the most, but they're already probably getting the game for free.
See, the interesting thing here, too, is, and I won't go down this rabbit hole too much, but I often think of Shovel Knight when I think of Mighty Number 9, because, again, very similar style of game. Obviously, it's a different developer. I mean, it's Yacht Club Games, who's actually kind of offshoot from Way Forward, who's well known for their 2D games. But the way that things happen with Shovel Knight is, again, they can't be compared because different situations. But it's interesting looking at them side by side, because you see Shovel Knight where it's just all of a sudden, like, websites are like, holy shit, this game looks awesome. This is what you've always wanted out of Kickstarter. And people that weren't following it were like, holy shit, this game looks super good. And then when it came out not too many places. It started off with Nintendo and PC. And then people were like, holy shit, this is awesome. It kept getting more notoriety, gaining so much momentum, where it came out on everything. And now there's expansions. Now there's free DLC. There's second player mode for the Wii U. There's the Battletoads and the Xbox One version. There's the Plague Knight with the free DLC. Like, it's, it got bigger and got wider and more and better range as it came out, and got more notoriety as it came out. I feel like it's almost the opposite for
because
it is the opposite.
Because the problem is when Mighty Number 9 was announced, you already had a big scope to fill. Because you had the Godfather and Infinity at the top.
Yeah.
This guy fucking made Mega Man, and now he wants to make his own Mega Man game.
And also on top of that, recent years of Capcom not really utilizing Mega Man in the way that fans are happy about.
So this was like a chance for them to, like, for fans like me to kind of reconnect with the guy who originally made Mega Man. So that was bigger, because Shovel Knight was nobody. Other than coming from Way Forward and making Yacht Club Games, who, unless you actually knew what they did, like all the beautiful 2D games they do and everything, for the most part, they were almost nobodies at that point. Like, not a lot of people bought into it. And then they had Shovel Knight, who was a new character. He was untested. So, they started small. Whereas Mighty Number 9 started big and only got bigger. Because even in the Kickstarter, a lot of their stretch goals were, now we do 3DS. Now we do Wii. Now we do PS3. because it originally only started on PC, and
Yeah.
then all the stretch goals were to add it to all those systems and stuff.
Exactly.
I think they should have reined it in.
Yeah,
Maybe
they
added,
really should have.
Maybe added, an extra character here, an extra level there, and then just called it a day on that, and then added all that stuff after. I think that would have been a much smarter plan.
Even look at Shovel Knight. Look at how much longer it actually took to get it on every platform.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's so much shit to do to get it to work on every platform.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you're doing it all at once, you're really spreading yourself thin.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think that would have been the best way to go, because Shovel Knight did it right, because they had an untested character with a more or less untested team. So they went small at the start, and that really worked for them in their favor, because they got the right amount of money, they got it done in the right amount of time, they got it launched, people realized it was a good product, and then they moved it out from there. With Mighty Number 9, it's on all platforms to start with, again, kind of an untested character, but from a tested person. And it just kind of punched him in the face, unfortunately.
Well, it's because you were at the peak of hype at that time. So now, as hype is dropping off, you're getting less people wanting to buy into this, or less people even wanting to buy the game when it comes out. And it's gonna, you've already spent so many resources putting it on everything. It's
unfortunate, but whatever. I still want to fucking play it. I can't wait.
Might not even be profitable. At this point, it's disappointing.
It's not going to be a $70 game.
No,
so that's
a good thing. They might need it to be if they want to make some money.
No, that would be the worst thing to do.
Yeah,
If they could go and bang this out at $15 or $20 a piece, more people would buy it, because it would be a reasonable price.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, moving on to the next kind of topic, actually. I mean, this one's more general kind of discussion about Kickstarter. I'm actually I know it seems like long questions, but we might as well just talk about all this stuff at the same time. Kind of the first thing is how do you guys just feel about crowdfunding in general? Also, how do you feel about when well-known developers, we've got your Inafunes, your Schaefers, your Suzuki's, going to crowdfunding? And also, how do you feel when those crowdfunding is also being backed by something like Sony in Suzuki's case, stuff like that? So, go at it.
Gary, did you want to start this one?
Yeah, I could start.
Yeah, go for it.
To be honest, I never really liked the idea of crowdfunding. It's good, but it's also, people really didn't understand the risks or the potentials of both sides of it. Even now, certain Kickstarters disappear and people are like, "Where's my money? Bring me all my stuff back."
Yeah.
And it's there's no sense of, I'm putting a risk in putting money into this. So
it's not so much the problem of Kickstarter or crowdfunding.
Yeah,
it's the problem of educating people.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. I'm actually pretty good with crowdfunding now, because it's getting to the point where people are like, "Oh yeah, it's not guaranteed or anything like this."
Yeah.
But so generally it's really good in the sense that you don't have to get one random CEO to okay this. There's so many games that got shit on that came out with a different company or a different thing. If you think of Smash Brothers, even that game got shit on before it got picked up by somebody. And tons of games like that. So it's nice that these games can actually come out through people showing what they want, putting money down to say, this is what I want.
Yeah, and see, that's why I totally agree with crowdfunding. People need to obviously be educated about what they can and can't expect from it.
Yeah.
But overall, I think crowdfunding is pretty much one of the best things that could happen for the gaming industry. Lots of people use Kickstarter or GoFundMe or whatever, all those other things, for their different projects, different art projects and different music and all that kind of stuff. We'll just focus on the video game aspect, though. And I think it is literally one of the greatest things that could happen for the video game industry, just because, competition drives ingenuity.
Yeah.
And you can't have competition if you have a bunch of AAA devs sitting and jacking off in the same room about the same games year after year. And a lot of that innovation doesn't come from big money. It comes from small minds.
Yeah.
So basically, all the indie devs and stuff like that are trying new things and trying different things and taking a game that they said that they used to love playing when they were a kid and then adding new flavor to it. But, as we've discussed already today, it takes a lot of money to make a proper game. So that's where your crowdfunding comes in. You get these small teams that basically say, "Hey, we've made this awesome little demo reel to show you what we can make for you, but we need that money up front." And here it is. So that I think kind of that aspect of it.
I like that.
You can't beat that. You can't beat that. Like that is the best way to do it. The difference in that though is that you have to see that demo. You have to see that want and that need in that team. Because if they say, "Oh, we're gonna make this," and they have like a couple shitty little clip art pictures, and they have like a 2-minute video saying what they want to make, don't give them your fucking money. It's not gonna happen. And if it does, it's gonna be shit.
Even that though, like what I was saying earlier about expertise, like I really hope that people who start Kickstarters nowadays find the right people to help them with things that they need help with.
Things that they don't understand.
Yeah, things that they don't understand. Don't just go in and be like, I've made this demo and it looks really sweet, and I feel like if I had $1 million, I could keep it going.
Like, that's the thing.
You don't know where he's going to spend that because he has no idea how to use that money.
Make sure it sounds like they know what the fuck they're talking
about.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's one of the other big pitfalls of crowdfunding. It's like you're not sure what they're going to do with your money because you don't know if they know what to do with the money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I really like crowdfunding for like, you know, the reasons that both you guys have talked about it. I really think it's a great chance to give lesser known properties some visibility, but also even if they are teams like Obsidian or like a Harebrained Scheme. Yeah. I'm failing at words today. Even if it is guys that are pretty well known, at the same time, you see games like that come out, and you see the lack of restraint that is put on them in what they're doing. I mean, games like Pillars of Eternity is a perfect example where that game came out on Kickstarter, and it is like an old school, isometric view RPG, similar to stuff like Baldur's Gate
or Ultima or something.
Or Ultima, yeah, Ultima. Yeah, Ultima would be a better comparison. And Planescape Torment also, like, you know, like those, like the absolute lack of restraint, because again, like they go to these publishers, like people don't want to play those type of games anymore. But then they're
bullshit. They don't.
That's exactly it. It's funny because I was laughing my ass off when Square Enix was so surprised at the success of Bravely Default, being like, we didn't know people wanted to play these games. I'm like, come on, Square, the games that you basically built your company on, you're surprised. But then I'm seeing these indie developers or these going to Kickstarter and saying, yeah, publishers said people don't want to play these games anymore, and then proving them wrong time and time again. So I'm just like, wow, I actually believe that Square Enix as a publisher thought that and was surprised that people wanted to play that type of game.
It's because they spent like 10 years developing the same thing, and they noticed like the trend was just dropping off.
No, absolutely. And it makes sense. It makes sense that they would think that. But also part of the reason that Bravely Default probably did so well is not only was it a return to form of some sort, but also it showed certain restraint as far as like they weren't making a completely AAA game with crazy graphics. They were like, hey, here's a lot of the cool and interesting aspects of this type of game that people like. We don't need like ridiculous, like tons of voice acting. We don't need like crazy graphics. You make something that is presentable, has great presentation, and is good. Like a lot of these Kickstarter games that have come out.
Well, they were like they noticed the drop off in the JRPG fandom, but they associated it with the gameplay instead of maybe the story's getting really fucked up and
exactly,
things just being like weird and not making sense.
Right.
They really equated it to just this is because it's a JRPG.
Yeah, because you can't do the same thing for 10 years in a row and expect that fandom to like really carry on.
Yeah.
Except for that train game that we were talking about like a long time ago on the 3DS, that like train management.
Right, yeah.
Because apparently that game is just fucking on fire the whole time.
Things,
so
games like that and Dragon Quest and stuff like that. There's nothing you can do. Fans will like it forever.
But yeah, for the most part, I mean, that fandom is going to kind of die down. So, and again, this goes with the whole big company kind of ideal, but they don't want to take risks.
Yeah.
And starting a new IP is one of the biggest risks companies can do. But I think they need to rethink about what a new IP is. Because you can go into a new IP and really figure out like what worked in your other games, what didn't. Figure out why it was dying off, not just because it was dying off. Like, figure out what exactly it was. Because you said, like, maybe people really dug the mechanics, but the story was like bullshit, or maybe the characters were really stupid and generic or something like that. You could start an IP on half of another game that you've made already and just put a new skin on it,
Devil
basically.
May Cry.
Yeah, Devil May Cry. Exactly. That was going to be a Resident Evil game, and they just slapped a new skin on it, and they made a whole new IP out of it, and it will just set it on fucking fire. Like, people absolutely love that game.
No.
So
Oh, absolutely.
I think that's what they need to do. I mean, they need to get out of this whole shell that they have of like, oh yeah, we got to stick with Final Fantasy, and we got to make a Madden every year, and we got to make a Call of Duty every year, and like we got to like, that's not what should be done. I mean, like you should have one of those big ones every other year, and then every other year you should have like a new IP or something that you haven't done in a while, like refresh one or something.
Madden and Call of Duty are different though because they're more profitable.
I mean, okay, Madden's a bit short-sighted because it's a sports game.
It's like fucking
you change a few
ridiculous.
teams, a few players, and out the door. Like,
Stuff like what they're doing with Assassin's Creed now, and being like, "Hey, we're taking a year off. Like, we're sorry.
Yeah.
Give us a break."
that's
fucking
great.
good on them.
Good
Thank you
on
for
them.
taking
They
a year
finally
off.
need
Like,
that.
But how about this though? How about I guess we haven't talked too much yet about how we feel about indie, crowdfunding and going to like people like Tim Schafer and
Having
Double
a
Fine.
publisher at the
Yes.
same time.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
let's
and
talk
also,
about that.
exactly. So, what do you guys think of that?
It's kind of a gray area for me, unfortunately.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
Because there's certain situations where it's like, yeah, that makes perfect fucking sense. And then there's other times where it's just like, no, you have money, you have a title, you're like, fuck off, don't take any more of our money. Like, you're gonna charge $80 for this fucking thing brand new, and then you're gonna come harvest it like pre-order style, like from Kickstarter. No, go away. Fortunately, that doesn't happen that often, but it has happened before. Whereas something like, I'm not a big fan of Tim Schafer, but I do like a lot of his games, so he's an interesting guy to say the least. But basically something like Psychonauts 2. That was kind of a prime example of, I think he had to go to Kickstarter with something like that, because it's been shown time and time again that 99% of people that play games want a fucking Psychonauts 2, but no dev wants to touch it for some reason.
Yeah.
Like, there was this disconnect. I don't know if it was presentation-wise or money, like maybe Schafer wanted way too much money to make it or something like that. There was some kind of disconnect there, but I think Kickstarter was a natural thing for him to go to for that game, because obviously no devs wanted to make it. It would have been made by now, because everyone you talk to that has played Psychonauts, or hasn't even played Psychonauts before, they're like, I want a fucking Psychonauts too. Like, they want that game. So, I mean, that just shows that kind of disconnect there. So,
I'm actually like perfectly fine with it. The only way that it's ridiculous is when it's a bait and switch, where they're
That's
like,
the one.
do you have an example of that?
I think Red Ash actually.
Yes,
was,
Red
where,
Ash is the
where
perfect
they had
example.
started it, and they're like, "You're paying for this game, or you're paying for us to make this game," and then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, we found a publisher, so now you're only paying for DLC and like extra shit."
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's kind of an ass, because
Now, did they give them an out, though? Were they allowed to retrieve their money if they didn't want?
I don't think they did. No.
They didn't talk about that.
Okay.
And of course, the thing is, obviously, a large business deal like this isn't just like, haha, we figured this out in a week. Like,
Yeah,
this
no,
is
that's-
clearly-
that's-
No,
doesn't
they had
happen
that.
after
They
the-
had that
Yeah,
plan.
yes.
They were
Yeah.
talking to
Yeah.
that Chinese publisher forever.
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
see, that's a bit troublesome because it is a bait and switch.
Yeah.
Now, if they turned around and said, hey, you guys are actually going to be paying for DLC and this other content, we will give you your money back if you want it, I think that would have been a much better approach to it, because some people will say, yeah, you guys lied to us, I want my money back. But there's going to be other people, maybe even like me, that would be like, well, I'm still technically paying for parts of the game,
Yeah.
so... Yeah, here you go. Like, you give you the money or whatever.
Exactly.
So at least they were honest about it, and they will give the money back if it, if you felt robbed or whatever. But if they didn't do that, then that's very unfortunate. So.
Yeah. So that's a big issue. But on the other hand, games like Indivisible, where you're seeing like they have more direction in what they're doing because they have their publisher as well.
You can see the absolute love and want to
Yeah.
make that game too,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
nothing in recent memory has looked that good, basically.
And yeah, because the publisher is not the major input of money,
Yeah.
then they don't step on people's toes, because all they're really doing is helping distribution.
Yeah,
like they're opening up distribution channels, and
Advertising.
and just helping out in that general.
Well,
sense.
general is money.
Yeah.
Here's some money, keep it going. Make this thing happen.
Yeah.
Instead
they
of like
know-
dumping all the money and being
Stuff.
like, I don't like this part of the game. I'm
No,
just
because I mean, like they
Shit
can,
on it.
They can guide them with a gentle hand. They'll be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you
Yeah.
might want to think about this instead because
Yeah.
we're a company. We understand how this works." And then they leave the team to make the game that they want to make because they see the promise in that. They see the promise in that game. They know that they're going to make money off of that and probably make a second and a third game of it too. So, it's one of those things, and that's kind of the smart way to do it because, you can have the other way where they come in iron-fisted and they were like, we're going to give you all this crazy amounts of money, but we're going to call all the shots, we're going to tell you how to do everything, how to market it, everything. And then it's just, well, basically, why don't you just fucking make the game then?
Yeah.
Because you've just basically crushed any kind of creativity or freedom that was in that game.
Yeah.
And other times it's like how Shenmue was, where it's like you just need to know that people will want to buy
Yeah, and
this
see,
game.
that was a completely different
It's like,
situation.
I will pick this up as a publisher, but I need to know people buy this game, so I'm going to put it on Kickstarter to see how much interest it gets.
Yeah, because Shenmue was, unlike Psychonauts 2, because Psychonauts 2 was always on the lips of gamers. You knew that people always wanted that game, and you knew that Schafer always had kind of a part of a story written, and he always wanted to do a second one. Shenmue, what's his name? Who made Shenmue?
Yu Suzuki.
Yu Suzuki. He always wanted to make a third one, and he always had heard that people really enjoyed his games, but they had
never sold.
They were never, they never sold well,
Yeah.
and there was never anyone knocking his door down saying, "Why aren't you making a third one?" Like there just wasn't that kind of that crowd response from it. So I think that this was a situation where it wasn't so much about putting the money in to help him start it, because that money would have been there from some kind of dev. It was more about just putting your money forward, saying, yes, we are ready to buy this game, we want it, and that was just showing your love for it.
No, I kind of fall into, again, I guess I'm mostly in agreement with you guys. Like, I fall into the same boat where I'm just like, I just want people to be, like, developers to be upfront about it. Like, again, a perfect example is my boy Iga, when he announced Bloodstained, right?
Oh,
and
yes.
He's like,
That Bloodstained game.
That Bloodstained game. Yes, I will play your Bloodstained game. I said it in a video. When they announced that, he was basically saying, my publishers told me that people don't want to make this game. I want to prove them wrong. He's like, by the way, I've got backers already. This is to help show interest. Like, he said that right away.
Yeah.
So people knew, whether you know much about game development or not, they're like, hey, there's some stuff going on back here already, but I need to garner interest as well. Which is the case for most Kickstarters, which people seem to don't understand.
So I guess what it comes down to is ultimately, if AAA devs or bigger devs instead of indie teams are going to be using it, I guess even indie teams in general, honesty is the key factor.
Oh, absolutely.
Be upfront with, if you have dev, if you have money, what kind of product do you have so far? Like, tell them everything, because not having that transparency is going to hurt you in the long run.
Oh, for sure. I guess I'm of two minds with the Shenmue one. I think part of it is one thing, which again totally makes sense, because people say they like the games, but honestly, sales numbers are just never reflected that. I think Yu Suzuki is a little nuts, just because he's then said a couple times he wants to make like 7 of them, which is insane. But that's besides the point.
Because it wasn't so much episodic, but that guy clearly had a story.
Yeah,
like
there's a huge.
He wanted to see this guy throughout his life almost. And,
exactly. Which I get, but I don't know how viable that actually is.
Yeah, you can't really knock him for wanting to do that, but it's another thing to make it feasible.
No, for sure. But what I kind of wished, and again, this is just there's two things. One thing, I was like, it's a shame, because like they've showed this at a PlayStation event, and I'm just like, I kind of wish PlayStation was like showed. It's weird. It's one of those things where I'm like, I wish that PlayStation was more confident in the product, that they're like, hey, we're helping that, like, stuff like what they did with Unfinished Swan or whatever. Granted, it's a larger game than that, so obviously there'd be more money involved. But I wish it was just like, hey, we're helping this guy make this game, and then a lot of marketing when it kind of comes out. Because Unfinished Swan and Journeys did great, and that was largely thanks to PlayStation, to Sony. So I kind of wish it was the same case with this game. The other thing that I worry about, and again, this is more worrying about the fan stuff, like stuff that we that they themselves can't control. I don't know if you guys have played Shenmue or even played it.
I've played both of them. I didn't finish the second one.
Okay, yeah, I played the first one. That game was really friggin' cool when it came out. I don't know. Right, that's exactly it. Like, seeing that like short little video where he's jumping across rocks, I'm like, yep, that looks like Shenmue. It literally looks like they took Shenmue and put it in higher definition.
They have games like Heavy Rain nowadays.
Well, that's exactly it. Like, what do people expect? Like, what do they expect? They'll be like, oh, this sucks. This is
not revolutionary anymore.
Exactly. So, I mean, heck, if we didn't have Shenmue, we probably wouldn't have the cool-ass quick QTE events in Resident Evil 4. And then if it wasn't for Resident Evil 4, we'd have the lame-ass quick QTE events in other games. But besides the point, what I'm trying to say is that Shenmue did a lot of really awesome stuff. And some of it, for the first time in a major game, that other games have taken from and refined and done way better at this point. And I don't think Shenmue is necessarily going to be like as archaic as it was in the past. But I just don't know if they'll be able to push that type of gaming forward or do something different enough.
I think what it comes down to is that I think they're going to have to take the same formula because the people that are putting this money forward, they're not, I don't think it's a lot of new gamers that are really like, hey, that looks really cool. I never played it when I was a kid or whatever, but now I want to play it. I think it's a lot of people that played them, and because those sales numbers were so low and stuff, we go into territory of cult following instead, where those numbers weren't high, but the love is deep for it. And when you go to a game like Shenmue, I think it's shown time and time again that type of game can be successful because of a cult following. Look at Yakuza.
Yeah,
Yakuza is a prime example of that because it's not open world, it's story driven. You have quick time events and small fights and a lot of story driven content in the game. And that's exactly what Shenmue is, but it's more of a kind of a like soap opera drama almost, rather than a like crime drama, like a Yakuza crime drama. But the gameplay aspect is very similar actually. There's jobs you do in them, and you have you have branching conversation paths with people, and it strikes me as a very similar game. And I think if Yakuza's on number 7 now, I think Shenmue can at least make a third game.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Like, when Yakuza came out, I was pretty much like, I was confused. I'm like, is this Shenmue? Like, is this seriously so bad? Like, I actually thought it was, like, from the same guys. And you know what? Like, I really do hope that's the case. Like, I'd be willing to play Shenmue 3. Like, I think it'd be pretty interesting.
I just hope people know what they're getting
that's
into.
exactly. I hope they do know. Like, I mean, Shenmue is
it's not Grand Theft Auto Japan.
No. Shenmue is very much, and like the story and the way it's presented, and like, I mean, the voice acting even sounded pretty cheesy in there. Like, I still sometimes go to my older brother and be like, and ask about Fuku-san and ask about sailors, and then go like, and say, let's get sweaty. And it's just like, come Lord, stop. But
that's awesome.
It's like a very weird and overwrought Japanese drama, and I really like that about the game too. Like, it's really strange, but it's really, really endearing. So I hope people know what.
As long as they know what traits were important in the original,
absolutely,
then they can carry it on.
Yeah,
and that's a big thing with making sequels and shit. As long as you can recognize what made it successful in the first place, or what people love about it, then you can just keep going with that.
Exactly.
We should probably move on to the next section. This will be
There's
our last
another section?
I know. I'm sorry. Sorry. Maybe we'll try not to go too deep into this one, but just say a couple crowdfunding projects that you're looking forward to or have enjoyed, and maybe one that was ill-conceived. If you can think of it, if you can't think of it, don't even bother.
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't even know.
Okay.
Okay, well, I'll start. There was the one I had mentioned before, Pro Wrestling X.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, because that one, has been around for a year and a half or 2 years now or something like that, and it's slowly coming along. Like, it does have a playable version on Steam, but it's literally like you're one of 2 characters. There's a ring. There's a bit of an audience. I think there's some music in it and stuff like that, some visual effects. But other than that, I mean, it's a very bare bones wrestling game. Like, there's a couple punches, couple like flip moves and everything, and that's about it. That's like the whole thing. That's what they've made so far. But what's there is very promising because it is starting to feel very much like one of the 64 games. So they're staying true to what they wanted to make, and it's a very small team. I think it's 5 guys that are making this game. So
burgers and fries.
Oh, jeez.
So anyway, so that one has been like I've been sticking with that one because I'm very excited to see the product that finally comes out of that, and I have a lot of friends that are excited about it too because again, the 64 wrestling games. Yeah. I find that board games are a really big thing on Kickstarter too.
That's true, actually.
Because you get a lot of awesome board games. Because again, I think the same reason that AAA devs and stuff like that don't want to try new IPs and stuff is it's very expensive. Same thing with board games. You go with big box games, something like Twilight Imperium or Descent or something like that. These things that, like, the box weighs 30 pounds and there's, like, 100 pieces of plastic in it and a bunch of cardboard tokens and stuff. Like, these games cost a lot of money to make.
Oh, absolutely.
So that is something you need up front because once all that product's made, there better be some money behind it or, that's a lot of money wasted. So
for sure.
Board games are a huge thing on there. I haven't personally bought into them because I usually don't have an extra $80 or $100 to drop on one of these things. I have a buddy who's all into it. He has spent like literally thousands of dollars on them, but he's gotten some of our best board games out of it too, because again, these are coming from indie developers of board games, basically, like a team of 4 or 5 guys making these board games. But when that money comes in and they deliver on everything, oh man, the quality of the pieces you get in these games, the quality of the game itself, when you open it up, like, you know, a cheap game, like the board is all warped and the cardboard is chintzy, and it's just it feels very garbagey. A lot of these games, when you open up, it's like, wow, this feels like it came from Fantasy Flight or something. Like, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So board games are a big thing on there. There is one I want to back that just got announced this week, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles board game.
I heard about that.
And we're not just talking about like an 80s like knockoff game to make a few bucks, like the Pizza Tower thing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
This is a fully fledged like Descent D&D style Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles like sewer crawling game.
Yeah, that might be the one to get me
where
back
you
into
fight
D&D.
like the Foot Clan and everything like
yeah.
that, and you have stats and it's story driven and oh my god, I'm so excited for this thing. I want to buy into it. I still have to see what the different levels are, because I know that they have like a special collector's edition, like a Kevin Eastman collector's edition, where the box, because the normal box just has like the art on it and everything. It's a big block style game, but the Kevin Eastman version looks like a pizza box with like the Ninja Turtle holding the slice of pizza, and it's all like red and white checkerboard and everything. Oh, it looks so fucking cool.
Oh boy.
So, I mean, that's the type of shit that you want to buy into at the higher level, because, I mean, board games, they keep their value. Unlike video games where you turn around and sell them again and like they're worth nothing. Board games, like my buddy that he has a copy of StarCraft board game.
Wow.
If you've never played it before. Really fun game.
Huge.
It's big. It's the literal
like
term
Twilight
of big
Imperium.
box.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like
it's
Twilight
scary.
Imperium. But totally fun game. But because it's out of print, and it's been out of print for probably about 10 years now, that game, I believe, on eBay goes for about $400.
Oh, shit.
And he bought the game for about $150. So a lot of those games, if they end up being really good and a really popular game, and they go out of print, it's an investment piece at that point. A lot of these games you can turn around and sell for twice their price. I know there's a couple other ones that he has that he could easily sell for like $300 or $400 a piece, but you know, we keep them because it's our favorite games and we play them a lot and everything, and you know, we're getting our investment out of it that way.
Exactly.
But yeah, anyway, so like for the whole Kickstarter thing for board games, that's been a big aspect for me. There's been a couple games that I've looked at on Kickstarter, but usually the problem is that, yeah, again, it just comes up to just not having money at that point. Because Kickstarter, unfortunately, has a time limit.
Yep.
So, I mean, if it's in that 28-day range or 30-day range, and it's like, well, I can't afford to buy in on $60 on this right now, it's unfortunate. Sometimes they will hold things afterwards, just like, hey, did you miss the Kickstarter? You can buy in. One of the ones I did like that was actually one called, I think it was, what the hell was it called now? It was like a car crash game or something. It had like a really generic title, but they changed to Wreckfest when they actually had a proper name, and they were getting closer towards the end of the dev. It's still technically in early access, I think, but I think they're trying to finish it up this year. But it's the guys that are at Bugbear Entertainment that made the Flat Out series, which were like the Demolition Derby games and stuff like that. So they made this game. I bought in after the Kickstarter because I was like, oh my god, those were some of my favorite racing games when I was younger. So basically the Kickstarter ended up, I'm like, damn, I wish I could have bought into that. And like a week later, I think it was on Kotaku or something, they were like, hey, you can still, you know, they're still offering deals to buy into this for basically the same price. I was like, fuck yeah, click here. Like,
Nice.
yeah, I bought into that. So that's like on my Steam list and playing that and everything. So, I mean, they're just kind of all over the place. Like Kickstarter is an ever-changing thing, so like a lot of the stuff that comes up on it that I get interested in, a lot of it comes through stuff like Polygon and Kotaku and Reddit and stuff like that, because it's really hard to keep track of it all, really.
It is.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's other stuff in there that I want to buy into. There is stuff I have bought into, so I have used Kickstarter in the past. So yeah, it's I totally agree with it. I like it. So.
Yeah. I guess I'll rattle off a couple. I'm not going to get into too much detail a lot of these because I think a lot of them you can either look up or you already know about. Star Citizen. I just want to know. At this point, like it's interesting because I've always known about Star Citizen and I've always just been curious about it. At this point, I just want to know what it is.
What it
I just
is?
want to. No, it's not that it's more the case that I want to know what it will look like when it comes out. I just want to see what it'll look like when it comes out.
Well, if it looks anything like what it does right now, it is
Yeah.
going to be one of the most gorgeous titles of all time.
Yeah, I'm curious about how it will do. Like I more want to see the story around the game's release than the actual game.
It doesn't matter how it does
Yeah.
because it is beyond successful at this point.
Oh no!
How much has it
absolutely.
made? $120 million or something like that?
Holy shit!
Oh,
really?
absolutely!
In crowdfunding, it's ridiculous. Like I can't believe how much money has gone. This is AAA title territory. This is like the shit that Grand Theft Auto 4 costs to make.
No,
Holy
for
shit.
sure. Like I understand that. Like I know it's
Yeah.
going to do. I know the game is fine. The devs are fine. Like that's not the issue. What I'm curious about is that narrative that will be built around the game when it's released. Because sometimes things for games like the story of the game's release and how it's followed afterward will be interesting. I mean, example is Fallout 4, right? Like I'm really interested in news stories about mods that come out after it, bugs that keep cropping up, developers releasing patches, stuff like that. That I actually really find fascinating. Like it's just the after release stories I think will be really cool. And also because Star Citizen is such a vast game, at least the way it's hoping to be, I'm also very interested in reading and listening to podcasts about people talking about their various experiences about the game. One of my favorite things about Metal Gear Solid 5 was people talking about different ways in which they've handled missions or
Right,
different
yes.
encounters that they've had. And even myself, like there's a mission that I kind of screwed up, but it was able to somewhat recover. And in most games, it'd be like, oh, fail state, you're out of here, right? But then it was able to bring it back. And I want to see stories like that in Star Citizen because I'm more interested in hearing people talking about it than almost playing it myself at this point.
Because again, it's one of those things. It's like, do you have the time to put into it? No. Well, yeah, go listen to podcasts,
Yeah.
read interviews about it, like read people playing the game because that's how you're going to get almost as much enjoyment out of it.
for sure.
Because you are going to see all these different experiences because they have
Yeah.
touted it as this game where you can be everything from, you can mine asteroids to you can own a shop to you can be like the most merciless like bounty hunter known in the star system.
Yeah.
You can work in government. Like you can basically do anything you want to in that game.
Absolutely.
Like they're taking Eve and timesing it by like 10,000. Like,
Yeah, it's like, I saw games like Elite Dangerous, which I really, really like the concept of.
yeah, but that's just like a straight up Starfighter.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
It's just like obviously they're two different games. So, but at the same time, I'm just like, okay, I like a lot of the concepts in Elite Dangerous, but it feels like I could take the certain ideas and concepts even further in something like Star Citizen.
Yeah.
So, again, I feel like Elite Dangerous is very good at what it does, probably, but I feel like Star Citizen will do a lot of other different things. So that's really, really fascinating. So, of course, there's Hyperlight Drifter. That game just looks awesome.
Yes.
It looks like this awesome, really cool retro style pixel art, very reminiscent of games like Zelda because of the isometric view as well as the focus on items. And the game looks fantastic.
It really has its own art style. That's what I like about it.
Oh, for sure. I love when they show artwork like from cinematic style where it's just like it's not the common view angle. Like it'll show like the character on a cliff and there's these weird golems like kind of walking towards them in the distance, something like that. Like anything that they do, anytime when they play with perspective in that game, it looks just fantastic. So just visually, that game is absolutely stunning. So. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's another game that's probably had some issues with delays and this and that, and people not knowing where it's coming from. But I'm willing to wait. Like, I'm not in a huge hurry.
We've got lots of games to play.
Exactly. Like, I don't know. I'm so privileged at this point that I have a lot of that. I'm sometimes paralyzed by choice of the games I can play.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I'm almost never getting mad about a delay. I guess I was annoyed with certain things with Final Fantasy 15, but that's a different story. that game had other issues that were somewhat troublesome. Let's see, Bloodstained. I mean, it's Iga, it's Castlevania. I really don't need to say more about that.
Yeah, it's fucking Castlevania. I'm gonna play it.
Yeah, exactly. Like it is, after Lords of Shadow, which the first Lord of Shadow apparently isn't a bad game. I don't like it. I think it's because of what it represents and the fact that it represents a large change in direction for what Konami felt like was profitable as far as Castlevania goes. So seeing the fact that I'm going to be myself and fans are going to be able to get access to a Castlevania style game, and I know that a Metroidvania is the flavor of the year or whatever, right? And I know those types of games come out quite commonly on indie projects or Kickstarter.
But you're talking about the guy who made them.
Yeah, I'm talking about it was basically like Metroid and Castlevania made the style viable, and it's nice to see Iga coming back. I honestly think that Castlevania Judgment broke his soul, but he'll never
it broke a lot of people's souls.
He'll never say it out loud. And then just a couple more I'll rat off. Indivisible, we already talked about.
Yes.
The artwork in that game. I mean, it's Lab Zero. It's the guys who brought us the amazing Skullgirls. So, and the animation, that's some of the best 2D animation I have ever seen in a video game, in both the cases, actually. Indivisible, it looks absolutely fantastic. And the character designs, again, just that same style as Skullgirls, where there's just totally over the top, incredibly diverse, and a bunch of really different, interesting looking characters.
Oh, the great part about that playable demo, you
yes.
already know it, what it is, sort of thing.
Oh, absolutely. Look up that down. If you haven't played it
good.
and you have a PC or a PlayStation 4 or whatever, just look it up, download it, and just give it a shot. It's really
a solid demo. It's actually really fun to play. For as far as the demo goes, it really shows you what the game can be.
Oh, absolutely.
And also, it's cool that they're adding a bunch of other indie characters in there, like Shovel Knight and those sorts of characters.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Oh, it's so great. And the music, oh boy, that boss music is so good. And the last one I'm going to mention is just Moon Hunters, another isometric pixel art game. That one is interesting because apparently the way you play the game, the way you interact with the world could possibly change your story because you're essentially making a legend about yourself. So I'm not going to get too into that though. But that game looks awesome. So yeah, those are the ones. I'll just be kind of quick about this, but there's the one failed project. And again, this one was, I guess, a joke, but basically some guy went to Kickstarter basically to make a Star Wars open world game.
Oh, yes, you were going to tell me about this. Please, enlighten me.
So essentially what the game was, and I wish I had the original speech that he had here. I think Kotaku here has an excerpt from it, but essentially they're like, hey, I want to make a very, I'm not, basically saying he's not, not that good of a programmer, doesn't have a ton of experience, but he's got a lot of passion for Star Wars, and he wants to make this open world Star Wars game. And it's gonna be
sounds amazing.
It's going to be the style of The Witcher and Fallout, and the graphics will be like Battlefront, and it'll be amazing.
Holy
and
shit.
He's like, I haven't actually talked to Disney, but I'll try and contact them and blah blah blah. It's like, yeah, please back my project. And I mean, it seemed like a joke. I just assumed it was a joke, but I thought it was hilarious, and so did a lot of people.
Was it not a joke?
No, it was. It's just that I guess a lot of people took it as if it wasn't a joke. But let's see here.
So it's hard to tell because there are some people that are completely oblivious like that.
Yeah.
So this is an excerpt from the original thing. Is that I'm currently looking into talking with Disney if I'm able to do this. If not, then there might have to be a compromise on the name or some other parts. Ooh. I need your help. I'm not a very good programmer, and I'm an even worse artist. I want to put this project into the hands of professionals, but in order to do that, I need money to hire them. This was my dream as a kid. I hope you can share my same compassion. Thank you. So I mean, again, whether it's a joke or not, it was hilarious. If it wasn't a joke, it's like you probably need to figure out some stuff out about how these things work. But yeah, so essentially he did eventually quit it, basically saying it was the joke, and also getting mad at people for being mad at him, being rude and stuff like that. I mean, I don't think harassing people on the internet is just stupid. Just don't do it, man. But this was if this was a joke, I'm not really sure what you were thinking.
What exactly was the goal here? If he was joking, what was the end game of that? Yeah, and if he wasn't joking. Well, what did you expect?
Because he's saying he wrote this entire thing on his phone, his phone at a bar when he was in Texas, and that he didn't actually think this was gonna work or whatever. But he said thanks to all my backwards, it made this whole thing extra funny or something. So
yeah, maybe he was just trying to prove that people will fucking throw money at everything.
Yeah, see, it could be something as simple as that too. Yeah. So.
Yeah, so I don't know. I found that whole thing. When the story propped up, it was actually pretty funny. So it made round. So I was like, yeah, that's a pretty good laugh. It made me chuckle. But it's just his big long letter that he wrote on the Kickstarter page. It's I'm canceling this. I'm canceling because I want to. And there's kind of a large speech about that about him like not being talked to, like Disney didn't talk to him, like he's doing it as Zoe's choice that he loves. I love all the Pirate of the Caribbean movies and talking about how he wanted to be Captain Jack. I'm just like, what are you like? I don't understand.
Yeah, that's of course a joke.
Like it's like oh boy, like this is an interesting thing. So I just thought that was kind of a funny thing.
Yeah.
But people needed to chill out though. They probably shouldn't have harassed him. Like just like just leave it alone. If you don't think it's stupid, just laugh like I did. So, but yeah, that's it for me.
Cool. I don't really know. I don't really actually back anything on Kickstarter.
No, neither do I. I just play them. They come out.
There's some interesting things.
Yeah.
I remember a few ones that stood out. Indivisible for sure, because I played that and it was wicked. So I really like that game. I remember there was like a Micro Machines game actually.
I think that one is still being developed or something like that. I'm pretty sure I saw. What the hell was it now? I think they had a teaser last year at E3 or it was around E3, but it was literally like 20 seconds of a teaser or something like that. But I mean, to get a license like Micro Machines,
I don't know if it is actually Micro Machines.
Oh, it is.
It's in the same vein.
No, it's
is it?
It's branded Micro
cool.
Machines. So to have licensing like that, they obviously have some money backing them. So I would hope that this would come through because I loved Micro Machines when I was a kid. Like like the original Nintendo top-down racing game, that was awesome. So I mean, if they can kind of modernize that ideal and give me a game that isn't $80,
I just love that.
I'll play it.
Kickstarter, you bring back a lot of your old IPs that you remember, but like usually they're a bit different because they don't get licensing rights and stuff like that.
That's true.
But there have been some really fascinating games to come out like that. Like I guess Road Redemption's another one. I don't know if it's gonna be the same. I heard some bad things about that now.
Road Redemption is coming along. It's definitely slow, which is kind of weird because I thought they got enough money to like make it happen, but maybe they just misbudgeted it or something like that. But I mean, from what I've seen, it definitely looks like a Road Rash game. I mean, if you looked at it and you've played Road Rash, you're like, that's a fucking Road Rash game.
I don't know. I've heard a few issues about that, but I don't know. But yeah, it's cool. I like those sorts of things. One of my favorite ones in the past, this is like entirely irrelevant.
Okay, yeah.
But this one time, someone put potato salad on Kickstarter.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And like, the cool thing was, he actually got like $55,000, which is a fuck ton of money for potato salad.
Yeah, no kidding.
And he was like, you know what? Let's do Potato Fest. So we made like a fucking festival. Like, he rented out a venue. He made tons of potato salad. Like, that's actually a really cool thing to do.
That's awesome.
Like, that's one of my favorite crowdfunding.
And that's what I like. It goes to show that Kickstarter isn't just like games and music and stuff like that. Like you can literally use it for anything that you can think
like
of.
For
movies
sure.
even. Samurai Cop 2.
Oh, for sure.
Yes,
actually,
that's
I'm so
right.
sorry. That did remind me of one Kickstarter thing. Like, I'll be really quick about this, but I'm a huge Veronica Mars fan, right? That Veronica Mars movie was just fantastic, and that kind of came up on Kickstarter and was funded within the day. And they followed through with everything that they promised, for sure. And yeah, like when I got to see that movie, it was fantastic because it's a series I always loved that kind of ended off in the way that you're like, oh, that really sucks. But they were able to bring it back. And again, some old IP that was able to come back through Kickstarter.
Yeah,
like that never would have been made if it didn't go to Kickstarter. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, so it's kind of the same idea as like Shenmue or something like that. Like it doesn't matter what the medium is. It's something that people loved, and then they can show their love with money, basically, at that point.
Like another one, like I don't know if you guys remember Indie Game the Movie. That was actually crowdfunded too.
Oh, absolutely,
like,
it was. Yeah,
you get so many fascinating things just coming out.
Didn't we see that? Did we see
we
that
saw
movie
that together.
Yeah, we did.
yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
that was a good movie.
Oh, I was so much.
Filmmakers
so
are from Winnipeg.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Wait, Dan, what the hell is Winnipeg?
Yeah, what the hell is Winnipeg?
It's what's outside.
It's horrifying.
It's a horrible blizzard right now.
I may not survive it. I may not survive the drive.
It's hot as balls in my living room.
It's legit a blizzard out there.
It is so warm in here, but we have the window wide open and there's a blizzard outside, so it's kind of an interesting mix.
I'm afraid of driving home. I may not make it. I'll be fine. It'll be fine. Anyway.
All right. Yeah, but aside from that, those are the Kickstarter things I enjoy.
Oh, absolutely. All right, guys. Well, I guess we might as well wrap up with what we've been doing this week.
What did I do?
Gary.
Gary's been laughing
Jesus,
like
let's
an idiot.
let's Gary
I've been
go
laughing
first.
like an idiot.
Let's let Gary go
All right,
first.
Gary, go first.
I got the Mega Dimension Neptunia V2 game.
His favorite.
And I've just been like playing it and going at the screen the entire time. It's like my favorite thing in the world. I love it.
Because why are you deterring? You should explain a little bit, because I don't think a lot of people know those games.
I think it has something to do with tits.
No, a little. There's like stupid jokes. There's like just a lot of things I love in.
Yeah.
Is there any fan service in there?
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of like in jokes, not only from the series but games in general.
Yeah,
Right?
it's actually pretty fascinating, and it carries on right from Victory. Like
so it follows the same story.
I mentioned Neptunia V.
Okay.
So it carries on right from there. So there's actually some interesting things that happen.
Mm-hmm.
So. Yeah. I stole that laugh from an anime, by the way. If you could name it, that'd be great. I know what it is.
I don't.
I feel like you guys are probably cool.
Oh my god,
figure that out.
That's great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anything else?
Any more anime?
I got Cyber Sleuth.
Oh,
I didn't play it yet
okay.
because
because you were laughing like an idiot.
Yeah, laughing like an idiot. That's about right. And not much else. I've watched the Sherlock movie actually.
Oh, finally, okay.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I actually really enjoyed it to be honest. But
Very cool.
I could see where people have issues with it, but yeah, it's really good. If you guys like the BBC Sherlock, just watch it. It's
if you're a fan, you definitely watch it for sure.
and it's fascinating to see how they went back into like the 19th century, but carried over like the same style of jokes and stuff, but like framed in a different way.
Oh yeah.
So it's actually really fascinating to see. This is what would have happened if they didn't modernize it and just made like a Sherlock that was like in the past like that.
Oh, okay.
Like it's kind of cool.
And you'll have to play some of that Cyber Sleuth because I want to hear about how good it is.
Yeah, it actually.
I'm very curious about this
I've heard a lot of good things about it.
Cool.
So my week was pretty straightforward. Was doing a bunch of writing and stuff like that. But part of that writing was a review for Punch Club from Tiny Build Games. And unfortunately, I kind of had to give it a thumbs sideways to a thumbs down kind of range. I love Tiny Build. I love a lot of the stuff they do. Like basically every game that Tiny Build, like I've played of Tiny Build, is amazing. I absolutely love it. Like Party Hard is fucking spectacular. I love that game. But yeah, it was just kind of a disappointment because they had a great idea going, but the kind of the execution of it just wasn't there.
I guess you were saying last time there were like too many of the mobile tropes, like you
click
and wait sort of thing.
Yeah, because it was kind of it was very hands off because the whole time it was like it's what I would akin to playing like one of those football manager games or something like that. Like,
or like any cell phone game.
Like really. you watch this fighter train and you watch him go to work and earn money and you watch him like interact with these characters and stuff like that. But I mean, for the most part, you just like click and go here, click and go here, click, and then it just sits there until he gets tired. And then the fight is like you pick which type of moves you want him to use, and you hit fight, and then it just happens.
Yeah.
So he could have like the piss being beaten out of him in front of you, and you can't do anything about it. Even though you've trained him up and you have good stats compared to the other guy you're fighting, it's just kind of random, and it just kind of. Yeah, it like missed its mark really.
That's unfortunate.
They had a good concept and they had 80s training montage and they had like all the kind of puns and quips and they had like the ideals of those 80s fight movies. But yeah, it was just so hands off that it wasn't very fun to play. Unfortunately, like they had some good parts in there, but other than that, it was kind of lackluster. So I hope they do better on their next game. I did a full review of that one. On aybonline.com. Plug.
Nice.
So you can check that one out. But yeah, the other big event that happened this week is I got to watch Samurai Cop 2. So...
that's a movie.
That is a movie. I'm going to put this out here. I love Samurai Cop.
Yep.
It is an amazing fucking movie. It is the best, worst movie I have ever seen in my
the
entire
world.
life.
Nothing
In the
even comes
world.
close.
It's next level.
Like I have.
How many times have you watched it?
All right, I'm just saying. I'm putting this out there. I have an absolute appreciation for bad movies because there's bad movies and there's bad movies.
Yeah.
This is one of those ones that people talk about where it's so bad it comes back around and is good again. This one does that like 10 times over. I have literally seen Samurai Cop probably about 26 or 27 times.
Oh man, I'm at 15.
I absolutely love it. yeah, I love how bad it is. It just has some of the worst writing, some of the worst dubbing, some of the worst everything.
Yeah.
Everything in the movie is bad, but it's so bad that it's so good. Now, unfortunately, Samurai Cop 2 is not the same situation.
It's hard to expect it to be.
No, and that's the thing, is I did not expect it to be better than Samurai Cop 1. Like, I really didn't. I just expected it to be kind of a continuation of Samurai Cop 1. Like, it's set in modern times, and, they got a lot of the original actors back, which was really awesome to see. A lot more wrinkles going on and stuff like that, but... for the most part, it was good. Like, as soon as you saw them and they talked, you recognized who they were and everything, which I thought was really, really cool. But the problem I had with it is that the start of the movie happens in 1991, like when the original film takes place. And that's like a little kind of a flashback almost. It's like 5 minutes of the start of the movie. And then the rest of it takes place 25 years later, 2016. Which is supposed to be modern times. Not so modern in this film. It's actually quite futuristic.
That's the joke.
No, but that's not even the joke, though. I mean, I don't know. It just missed its mark on that. Like, they just took all the tropes of, like, future sci-fi stuff out of B movies where they had, like, the dark corridors with, like, light shining through, even though it's all just made of, like, crates and everything.
It almost changed the genre.
It kind of hurt it a little bit because they made it almost feel like a future cyberpunk movie, but only in certain aspects. Because there's some parts where they're talking to, like, their boss and stuff like that, and unfortunately they didn't get the same actor for that guy, but he tries to kind of ham it up and be the same role and everything. But he's in a normal-ass office, and it's just like a normal cop shop, and they go to, like, different sets and stuff like that, and they're completely normal. It looks like it's modern-day Los Angeles and everything. But there's other sets where it's just like, is this like 3020? Like, is it... it literally looks like they're going to pull laser guns out and start shooting at each other in space. Like, that's how much of a difference there is in what's happening. Some of the characters they wrote in were kind of interesting. Like, I liked that they carried the whole thing on about the Katana gang and everything. Like, they actually had warring families at that point, so they did a good job with that. But the problem is again, they just made it all this future tech crap that was going on, and a lot of the dialogue was just, it wasn't even bad as in, like, it was written badly. Like, it was bad as in it didn't make fucking sense. Like, the story was very disjointed, so you didn't know what was going on half the time. A lot of weird flashbacks from Samurai Cop, Mr. Joe Marshall. That just, like, after watching the movie, I was like, so wait, why were those scenes in there? I don't understand what he was thinking at that point and everything. So that was just weird shit. But yeah, overall, I mean, it was okay. It wasn't amazing. It certainly wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. I think they literally just should have continued on from the first movie and just made them still being cop buddies, still after the Katana gang. I think it would have been a much better movie if they just kind of kept it in that style.
They should have went after that Chinese gang at the very beginning.
Yeah, exactly. Just something a little more basic
like that. The Chinese gang took over from the Katana gang.
I think they went a little too high concept for their ability, because it really kind of crashed and burned, especially near the end. Tommy Wiseau is in this movie. If you don't know who he is, you don't watch bad movies. Tommy Wiseau is in The Room. If you've never seen The Room, go fucking watch it, because it is a fucking train wreck and it's hilarious.
Yeah.
The problem that I think they got Tommy Wiseau because he's infamous for being in The Room. The problem is they didn't really use him in this movie. He is just a rambling moron that's in, like, a few scenes in this movie, and it's kind of sad to see, because, like, I wanted to see some of that hammed up, like, acting, if you can call it that was in The Room. And he just goes so far beyond that it sounds like they gave him this instruction when he got on set. All right, Tommy, here's a bottle of vodka. You go to your trailer for 20 minutes, and that thing better be done by the time you come out, and you're going to ad-lib the 3 scenes that you're in. That's basically what he does in this movie, which is very unfortunate. But, hey, you know what? It's Samurai Cop 2.
It exists.
It exists. Go watch it if you enjoyed the first one, because there are some laughs. There are definitely some nods to some of the original jokes. Some of them are very fourth wall shattering, but other than that, it was entertaining. I'm certainly not going to watch it 26 times, but I'll watch it a couple more times. So that's what I did for entertainment this week.
Very nice. Let's see. So I actually
did you beat Bloodborne?
no, I didn't.
Don't even have to ask.
We all know how I play video games.
I have to ask every week.
Oh my god. Well, I got a little bit further in it actually. Yeah, I'm really feeling that New Game Plus. I mean, even so, I'm not that great at video games, so I'd still suffer. But New Game Plus is definitely making it harder. Because there's certain attacks where I'm like, that shouldn't have been a one shot, and it was a one shot.
That DLC though is rough.
Well, no,
there are rough areas.
Oh, I know, and it's really unfortunate that I screwed myself. But
just gotta scam the enemies, man.
Okay.
Get them stuck behind shit.
Get them stuck behind shit. Yeah, no, I mean, hey, don't worry. I've been using every trick in the book. Sometimes it works, and I actually almost always take out every single enemy in an area. I definitely ran a couple times.
Yeah.
You just have to.
Mm-hmm.
You can probably come back and take them out later, but at the state that I'm at right now, I definitely can't take on like 7 blood lickers. Like that's not gonna happen. But yeah, it's been kind of interesting because I got past like the way it often is in Bloodborne or Souls games is that sometimes there's a hurdle that you keep banging your head against a pole, and you're just like you can't get past it, and you leave it for a little while, and you come back and
gamer tenacity to do.
Yeah.
Come on, you gotta get back in there.
Yeah, but then there are other times you just have to fucking power through it.
No, well, okay, but this is a time where I benefited from not doing that because
really?
I was banging my head against a certain thing for a long time, and then I stopped, and I came back to it this past weekend, and I got through it.
Just crushed it like nothing.
Yeah, you just crushed it like it was nothing.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, I was psyching myself out at that point. Like I was definitely going diminishing returns by trying again and again and again because I was dying faster each time.
Yeah.
So yeah, so there was that. But yeah, that game continues to be awesome and terrifying at the same time. And then let's see. Oh, I played something else. Well, I guess I played Grand Theft Auto 5 on the PlayStation 4 because my older brother picked that up. Yeah, that game's real pretty. It's
super pretty.
Yeah, it looks really, really nice on the PlayStation 4. I mean, God knows it looks even more nice on the PC. But the PlayStation 4 version is really cool. It's nice seeing it, the high resolution on a large screen and stuff like that.
Well, better draw distance and stuff like that too. Just more going on, more cars, more people around, like all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. And I'm loving just I mean, those games I'm terrible. I never, again, just like every other game, I'd never finish them. But I tend to spend a lot of time just wandering around the city in Grand Theft Auto, like not even doing anything.
That's why those games were really made in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I've been doing, and doing a lot of that in first person, just looking at everything. It's really fun. Just going to the store and looking at all the boxes.
Looking at things.
Just looking at stuff. Thanks. Anyway, so that's been a lot of fun. Let's see. I feel like I played some other game, but I can't quite remember. Let's see. Entertainment wise as well. I somehow didn't realize that Shameless season 6 started. So I started watching that again. That show's just like, it's another show that I just don't really think about at all when it's not on, but when it is on, and I just have a hell of a time because it's a lot of fun. Like it's just about this really poor family that has a really shitty dad, played by the amazing William H. Macy, who does a fan-fucking-tastic job as that character.
So it's Married with Children.
No, it's like if Married with Children was made today, probably, because it's way worse. Now, I mean, like, they're much worse off than that, and their family's just completely screwed up. The main actress, Amy Ralston, does an amazing job. Like, she's a really, really good actor. I love to see her in other things, too, because she sells every scene that she's in with an amazing sincerity. Like, she'll go between, like, crying her eyes out because something horrible happened and laughing her ass off because some idiot, like, her idiot dad did something really stupid, to kicking the shit out of somebody to messing with her family. Like, in a heartbeat. She can play that character. She is embodied that character in a way that I've seen few actors do. So yeah, she's great, and William H. Macy is also just fantastic.
Well, he is usually fantastic in anything he's in, though.
He's amazing, and he shows it. Like, this is my favorite role of his for sure. He is such a piece of shit, such a bottom feeder, and he makes it an art. Like, it's funny because this character is such a piece of shit, and he's insufferable. And it's just like, even when you see him starting to do something good, he goes bad, and you're just like, oh fuck, why did I get huffed up in it again? Because he brings you in, and the way his character is, it's like he goes through so much effort to avoid doing work. The character is actually really intelligent. He's intelligent at being a piece of shit and stupid. It's incredible.
There's a lot of people that are like
that. Absolutely. I mean, like it's just fantastic. So that show's just a ton of fun to watch again. And then let's see. I'm also watching. Venture Brothers is back. I won't get too much into that because there's so much
spoilers galore.
Exactly, there's so much. Just if you like Venture Brothers at all, just go watch it. It's always good. They take so much time between each season. You know that they take their time and make that show worth watching. So yeah. And then also just a shout out because I started watching Young Justice again for like the third time. Just seriously, if you're a DC fan, if you're a fan of comic books, watch Young Justice. That show is just fantastic. It's one of the best DC shows that's come out in years.
I've caught a couple episodes, and I'm not a big fan of like kid shows or ones that are supposed to be younger demographic. Honestly, they did a really good job with it. I actually enjoyed it.
They did. That show actually gets pretty dark. Like I think that show's almost aimed at like teenagers and older teenagers and stuff like that. What?
Pie? No, that's never mind.
That's Lex Luthor. Yeah. Are you talking about are you talking about the Pie Maker?
The Pie Maker.
There's no Pie Maker in this one.
Not yet, anyway.
Not yet. Well, I mean, no, because the show's canceled. Oh wait, I should go back and draw Pie Maker. No, going down a rabbit hole. Yeah, no, that show is absolutely great. That show is better than it has any right to be, and it's kind of a shame that they only got 2 seasons because I would have loved to see at least one more. But yeah, they take a time jump in the second season, which isn't a spoiler. It's well known. So the characters are in very different places too. But yeah, great show. Watch it. Yeah, and I think that's it for me.
Cool. All right, so we mostly talked about Kickstarter today, or crowdfunding. Yeah, so obviously it has its shortcomings and its fallbacks and everything like that, but it's definitely an excellent tool to use in some of those situations too. So, what do you guys think? Like, what do you ultimately think of Kickstarter and Indiegogo and GoFundMe and all that jazz? Like, have you used it before? Have you personally used it? What have you backed? I'd like to actually know kind of some other projects that you've backed and if they've actually come through or not. I mean, I've seen a lot of success out of Kickstarter from my friends buying board games and different video games and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, you read a lot of media about things that have failed and people just disappear into the darkness with your money. And, yeah, so if you got any horror stories, you throw them down there in the comments too. Yeah, and other than that, yeah, I think that's about it.
Yeah, we did.
All right, so until next time, don't forget to
like, comment,
and subscribe.
KitaCast out. Oh, God!